Stephen Burke is a longtime PC hardware operator over at GamersNexus. When he sought to perform a feature-length documentary on the US government export regulations for Nvidia graphics cards, he made a request for backers to help fund the additional editing it would take. Now, we here know what goes into the editing process. It is painful. And having that first-hand knowledge, it was like a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, we will happily contribute. Now, when Steve offered Kingpin backers a chance to have a casual Q&A session, the only conclusion to jump to is, yes, this has to be done.
Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for joining, and yeah, thanks for making this possible with the Black Market video, the production that we did on it.
In this video, I'm sitting down, well, clearly, going to ask Steve a few questions just to see how much overlap there is between a software guy and a hardware guy. Before that, a moment of shameless self-promotion on our part as we roll the title card. Cybersecurity. I've been doing it too long, and I'm familiar with these government export regulations. Too much first-hand experience, all in the name of national security. The first thing that, curious to know while you were doing this, you embedded yourself in the Chinese black market for these Nvidia graphics cards. Did you notice anything that could be a red flag for cybersecurity attack purposes, anything that could be a national defense issue? Or is this just all propaganda and all the Chinese market really is? It's like just hacking. A consumer market.
I didn't see anything like directly related to this trip about that. Now, that's not to say that that doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure that basically every government, or at least every technologically advanced government, would be developing some kind of encryption cracking or password cracking or whatever technology, if only for use for its own internal purposes, if not external. So I would certainly believe that. We didn't see anything directly related to that, but we also weren't really there researching specifically that. So one of the things I was thinking of, though, as an interesting benchmark, maybe related to that, is if, as we do some more of these like high-end RTX Pro 6000 type GPU tests, if it makes any sense to do like GPU level GPU processing password cracking benchmarks, because it sort of puts into perspective in a different way what the technology can be used for. I'm not sure, though. I don't know. But no, we didn't see anything related to that while we were there.
All right, we actually just did builds here. We're using Ryzen 9s. Now, you mentioned in your email prior to this that you might actually be joining on a brand new rig that you built. So let's compare. What did you make?
Yeah, so currently I'm using the Puget system that I showed a while ago that I bought. Part of the reason I'm using this personally, this has a 13700K in it, and it's on an old BIOS, and the story's kind of done, that one, but I still am curious to see if this particular CPU ever shows sign of degradation, so I'm just using that on this machine. And then I have a Threadripper build I'm going to be doing. But the Black Market video, rendering that, man, that was a nightmare. Like, I would start the render, and I walk away, it would say whatever, estimated 2.5 hours, 3 hours, stuff like that. I walk away for an hour and a half, then it would just be failed. And the problem with a video that's so long is it takes a long time to see if it's going to fail to render. And so I ended up building, I worked with Patrick to basically get our test bench deployed, because it was the quickest thing we could do. So we got our CPU test bench for Threadripper set up, and that was able to get through it without issues. So I'm going to build a Threadripper machine for some of the rendering work. And actually, we just built a server with Wendell. So he did some overhaul of our server room. And one of the things I want to do is maybe put a rack-mounted Threadripper build or something in it, or low-end AM5 AMD EPYC, and remote into that to render stuff. It was just an idea I was kicking around recently, and I was that would be a high-end build, obviously. But home lab, home server type stuff is becoming more affordable these days because used server hardware like racks and network switches and stuff like that, it's like really affordable right now, comparatively, to where if you get secondhand enterprise gear and you want to set up a self-hosted media server or something, it's kind of more possible to do that now than ever before. You don't need like server stuff. It just makes it nicer, cleaner. Added.
Steve, I've been using a Zotac Gaming 5080 card that you recommended not to buy, and I've been using this for 6 months and for rendering purposes, and I have to admit it's been really great.
I don't think I talked about the Did I talk about the Zotac 5080, or you just mean the 5080 in general? I don't remember if I talked about the Zotac one.
Editors,
if you mean the 5080 in general,
roll the tape.
Yeah, I think that was our recommendation. Here's the short version. TLDW, you shouldn't buy this video card. It's fine. The thermals are fine. The acoustics are fine.
Okay, no, all joking aside, there's a plan here to build new rigs for our editors, and I'm trying to convince myself if stepping down to a 5070 Ti would be a more ideal bang for the buck. So in any of your testing, I'm seeking any input.
Prices are getting better, sort of. The 5070 Ti is probably generally more price competitive right now than it was when we reviewed it. From what I was looking at, the 9070 XTs are still not consistently at MSRP, which is where they really need to be. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time getting excited about the current sort of upper end of the GPUs just because it's so lacking in fierce competition, where it seems like they are both happy to just barely compete with each other and get all the sales. But yeah, I think a 5070 Ti is okay as the price has come down over the last several months. That said, they're working on supers, so I mean, based on the rumors anyway. So that'll affect the price, I would think, for sure.
And keep in mind, our editors here, we are a DaVinci Resolve shop, so they'll be running that. And editors, they of course want to run games.
I'm not sure. DaVinci Resolve, we only just started testing in CPUs. I'm honestly not sure what the GPU scaling is like. I can talk to Premiere. So Adobe Premiere doesn't scale a whole lot with like the CUDA core config in our renders, at least. And so like for the stuff we render, a 5060 versus whatever, 5070 or something, that's not really going to produce a difference for us. What does is the VRAM capacity, so we really need 24 gigabytes or more. Our projects just load it that heavily. That's where we see the difference. But if you had actually, this is a good example, a 3090 and a 4090 in our workloads, if they're both 24 gigabytes, there's not a huge difference in performance in Premiere. It's because they hit the memory threshold we need. I'm not sure though about DaVinci.
And moving on to YouTube here, the hardware software channel here where this is posted, we're starting to roll that out. But prior to this, we've been learning the ropes on our practice channel. Perhaps we should stop referring to it as the practice channel. That might be a good start.
Wolfie's Game Zone.
Yeah, that one. Knowing what I've been dealing with, I'm curious, what were the biggest challenge you faced in getting GamersNexus up and running?
It's pretty interesting because when I started, I started the website in 2008 or so. The channel, I think, technically started in 2009, but it's not like, being a YouTuber wasn't really a career, and it is not how I looked at this at all. I wasn't like, I'm going to be a YouTuber and make a business. It was, I made a website about video games, and then I made a YouTube channel, and I uploaded some trailer analysis clips. That was like a thing back then. You look at a trailer for a new game, people be hyped about it, you analyze what it's shown that might not have been said, and posted guides for games, stuff like that. So, challenge when getting started it's an interesting question because although I'm sure there were challenges, because I wasn't looking at it, like, I'm going to try to make a business. And, like, streamer wasn't a job, really, or at least I wasn't aware of it. I'm sure people were doing it. But 2009 is a little bit before all that stuff. Monetization, I think, had been turned on for the platform, but it was still, like, a new thing to try and, for anyone to try and make a career out of it. So you had some early people in there, but yeah, I mean, Casey Neistat, for example, people like that. So, but as far as like what was a challenge, as I started to really try to get somewhere with it, if you bring it back to the website, it's people discovering your content. That's the challenge. You can have, and I didn't, but you can have the best content on the internet, and if no one knows it exists, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it feels nice, but no one watches it, so then it feels bad, or reads it in that case. And so it's like, I didn't have the best content on the internet, but we were doing some cool stuff. Like, we were interviewing Richard Garriott. He made Ultima. Warren Spector made System Shock, I think it was. Ken Rolston was the lead designer, I think, for Morrowind. So we had some really cool stuff, interviews and things. But getting people to find it, that was the biggest challenge when I was really trying to get off the ground. So yeah, there were like some gaming networks, news networks I would contribute to, post to, and there's kind of like self-promotion rules. If you submit this many other people's stuff, you can submit one of yours, things like that. So that was kind of how I got rolling.
All right, so on our main channel here, the focus is to pass down decades of experience to the next generation of computer scientists. So to learn what they want to know, I ended up going back to my alma mater and asked the students what they feel the professors aren't including in their lectures. Now, most of these students are studying game development. Now, obviously in my career, I've run into quite a few developers of video games, and they all say the hours are insane, the time pressure is insane. The reason I have a lot of concern is because lately in the market there have been so many layoffs and people just ending up out of work. Now, you do a lot of testing with games, and I'm not sure how much contact you have with people specifically in that area, but I'm definitely curious what your take is on that industry, and if any student who's got a passion for going into game development, is it really going to be a career worth pursuing?
Game development? I think with game development, this is just my opinion, so I could be off base here, but I think with game development, it's such a passion-driven field because it seems like in the game design, art, and development world, it's so competitive still to get in that if you want to do it, it's like you need to be willing to get paid worse than if you were to work a quote-unquote normal development job like software, I guess. So you have to be willing to get paid a lot worse. You have to be willing to get shitty hours. The game industry is constantly laying people off. They like ship a game and then they lay off half the team that made it because, if they're not working on another game, they don't need them, and so they just get rid of them. So it's a brutal industry. I think if you really love it and you really want to do it, it's really important to you, then it's absolutely worth pursuing 100%. I think just you have to go into it with that in mind. And the other thing to think about is maybe, some of these indie game development studios, like independent studios, they seem to really have a good footing these days comparatively, and I'm sure a lot of them, a lot more fail and we never hear of them than are successful. But it seems like there's maybe potential for a better environment in those situations, and I would bet you could meet a lot of people forming those indie studios in like college classes or whatever, or what are they called? Game jams, right? Where you get together and do a cram session to make a game in 2 days, stuff like that. I was really seriously considering getting into game design.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
When I worked at Dell for a year as a test technician, and a guy who worked there was a former developer for games. He worked for, what is it, Black Isle, I forget the name of it. Maybe it had the word kin in it, Kin's Isle or something. I don't remember. If I remember correctly, they built some Call of Duty either game or components or netcode or something. I don't know. Anyway, he worked for one of them, and then he moved to Dell. And he gave me the talk where he's like, all right, you have to know, if you want to get into games, like, you have no leverage. There's someone lined up for your job the minute you're out. They are constantly laying people off. It's like a brutal environment, and so you have to really want to do it. And I was already starting to do games media at that point, and I decided that gave me some more freedom. So I think it is a good thing to study, but I think you really have to do it. It's just my opinion. I'm not an expert in it. I'm not like a career counselor for video game, development. But that's kind of my gut instinct on it, is like, if you hear all of that and you're like, I think I can handle that because I really love games and I want to make them, then you're probably the right person to do it. Although if you're like that, you might also be the right person to attempt to do your own thing or join a smaller studio. But that's kind of my read on it. If building normal software, like if it would be boring to you to develop accounting software, right?
Cybersecurity.
Even though you might get paid twice as much as the programmer for it, if that would be too boring to be worth it, then then it's probably worth looking into pursuing the game side.
Before I go, I'm hearing from a lot of other fellow Kingpin backer tiers that they are loving the canvas print that your mom made. That we've already received those.
I asked her to do the painting, and she was just like, I can't do a good painting of this. I don't think anyone's gonna like it, and I'll try, but it's probably not gonna be any good. I was like, it'll be good. So I'm glad. I'll make sure she hears it. I will let her know. I don't think she knows how many people got that print of the painting she did. I'll have to let her know. She's a really good painter. She's been doing it for a long time, and hasn't ever done it like painting or art or anything in any kind of professional capacity. And so I was like, this would be fun to basically commission one. And so I did that. So yeah, that's Hong Kong. That's the camera pointed towards the south side of Victoria Harbor. So if you were to look at Hong Kong on a map, you'll see Victoria Harbor is like between. So they have Hong Kong Island and then like the rest of the city. And so that was a shot of Hong Kong Island. It's got like the Ferris wheel and stuff like that. Really, really cool part of the city.
This has been a fun. It's been fun hearing your answers and just seeing like how much our experiences have led us to the same conclusions.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. I have a lot of fun doing these. Happy to do them. We're going to do more of this type of stuff.
And I don't feel I am properly qualified to express the level of gratitude, so I'm going to hand this off to someone who's going to say it way better than me.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I totally appreciate it. I enjoy talking about this stuff, so join me down in the comments and we can keep the conversation going. And if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and leave me a like. And until we get an opportunity to hang out like this again, beware the full moon.